Next up on players that we possibly could be casting bronze on, Jimmy Baseball, Jim Edmonds, the man with one of the greatest catches of all time.
The best catch ever.
Yeah, it's like Willie Mays on steroids type catch. I mean, the full extension over the head.
He didn't do it just once.
No.
He did it like twice.
Jim Edmonds was a problem in center field, and pretty long career. Played for the Angels and Cardinals, most notably towards the back end. Padres, Cubs, Brewers, and Reds. Again, known for one of the greatest catches in baseball history. 4-time All-Star, World Series champ, 8 Gold Gloves, 2004 Silver Slugger. Luke, run us some of the stats.
My man Jimmy E. hit 393 home runs, 284 for a batting average, 1,199 RBIs, 67 stolen bases, which is less than Lance Berkman. Had to throw that one in there.
We're going to throw Lance Berkman as the...
We're going to compare him to everybody.
Yeah, for stolen bases.
On base percentage 376, slugging 527, combo that for an OPS of 903 and an OPS plus of 132. Also with a career WAR of 60.4.
Which, tell us how you feel about WAR.
I think it is a very center field centric stat because I feel mostly the center fielders have the inflated number of that. And also it's not really accurate because a lot of different websites and stat collectors use different formulas. Like teams have their own formula for how they calculate WAR. Baseball Reference has their own formula.
Yeah, so he finished in the top 5 in MVP votings only 2 times, 2 seasons over 40 home runs. 42 was his biggest season. He had 2.5% of the votes for the Hall of Fame. He was consistent. 10 out of the 11 years, he had over 25 home runs. But was he ever the best player on his team? And that's kind of been that was my question on Berkman, and then you kind of go back to Jim Edmonds now. Was he ever the best player on his team? That's the argument with Derek Jeter a lot of times. People saying that he's not great.
Wasn't.
And it's always like, yeah, but if you think about it, Derek Jeter wasn't ever the best player on his team.
Paul O'Neill was better.
We'll get into that another time. Was Jim Edmonds ever the best player on his team? Teams that consisted of, at time, Albert Pujols was there. You had Scott Rowland was there. So I would go out on a limb and say no.
No, I don't think he was either. I mean, just look in the year that Albert Pujols won MVP, he won it over Jim Edmonds. So,
yeah, I mean, overall, if there was a Hall of Fame for just defense, he's easily in because I think he was, one of the better center fielders. His numbers are pretty close to Sean Green. Who's also not in, but his numbers are very similar to Sean Green. It pains me to say I love Jim Edmonds, but I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame. His numbers are also very similar to Lance Berkman, who we just had our last show on. But Berkman did it from both sides of the plate and also didn't eclipse 2,000 hits. And we know that Berkman had a little bit lower of a WAR, but he also didn't play center field.
Played first base.
So yeah, I would have to say no on Jim Edmonds, but I do love Jim Edmonds. I was always a Jim Edmonds fan. He had a great swing. His swing was very, very nice from the left side of the plate. And he was a very, very good outfielder. Now, I gave my what I look for in a player when it comes to like voting if I would put them in the Hall of Fame or not on the last show. What are you looking for when it comes to putting guys in the Hall of Fame? If you had to vote, what would you be looking at?
I want to see how they perform in the postseason because I think that's very important. Obviously, that's not going to be the overall thing because you don't play that many games in the postseason. But it's definitely one of the impact things that I would include in my vote. Batting average, even though it's dying in today's baseball. On base, definitely. Slugging, home runs, and RBIs. I would look at the classic numbers, really, because that tells you their actual value. So, I don't know. Fielding as well, because Jim Edmonds was amazing at fielding. If it, like you said, if it was a fielding thing, I think he would definitely be in.
Which I do think, like, that's the one thing that sucks about the Hall of Fame is, like, we talked about guys, and we'll probably get to these guys later on as we keep doing this, but, like, I feel like the Hall of Fame is tailored towards guys that hit the home runs that are, going to draw fans in, but someone like Kenny Lofton with almost 2,500 career hits, Juan Pierre with a ton of hits, like those guys go unnoticed because all they did was slap the ball to the outfield and then steal second base. Like those guys, I feel like, and they played stellar defense. Those guys too, they get overlooked, and I feel like is not fair. Now
it doesn't make sense because the guys that were like early 1900s, late 1800s. Dudes like Honus Wagner, that's what they did.
Yeah.
And they're in.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's kind of what sucks is like, I feel like those guys get overrated. Now, I mean, Kenny Lofton, better career numbers than Jim Edmonds. I'm not saying that, as far as like hits, things like that, but stolen bases, they're just different players though. Like, I don't feel like it's fair to compare someone like Kenny Lofton to someone like, who's a great Hall of Fame center fielder, like, I'm trying to think.
Ty Cobb.
Okay, yeah, like they're just different players. I don't know, like that. So I feel like the Hall of Fame should take into account like Jim Edmonds is, I feel, one of the best center fielders to play the game. I mean, you literally look at his highlight reel, and the guy has just insane catches all over the place. But that doesn't get taken into consideration. I don't think Jim Edmonds is a Hall of Famer, but I feel like there's an argument to be made as far as if you were going to say he's a great when it comes to defense. Defense is a part of baseball. Stealing bases is a part of baseball. Getting hits is part of baseball. And I feel like we solely look at the hitting numbers rather than anything else when it comes to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Everybody's just
home run and RBI hungry. That's it.
That's what I was looking at. Yeah, I look at the classic stuff. But that's what we grew up on. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's what draws the fans in.
Yeah.
Like a diving play, people see it and forget about it. But then like, people don't even watch baseball, and you see on Twitter yesterday, did you see the home run Stanton hit? That was a bomb. Like, he yeeted on that ball. Like, so, yeah, no, I see where it's going, but I don't think Jim Edmonds is the Hall of Fame, but I do really like him as a player, and I thought he was a great defensive player. Your final thoughts on Jimmy Baseball?
Unfortunately, Jimmy Baseball, you do not get my vote to get in, but thankfully I don't have a vote, so I'm not part of the BBWA. I'm definitely in your fan club, though.
All right, if you liked what you heard about Jim Edmonds in our second episode of Casting Bronze, please comment what you feel about Jim Edmonds. Tell us some players you would like to hear us talk about, and let us know in the comments how you feel. And we will see you on the next one.